regrettably, as we were talking before the interview formally started, too many campaigns have, degraded to just name calling, and I suspect that we'll see that. We've seen it certainly in the past, that every Democrat who stood for certain elections has been labeled, and every Republican, and it's regrettable, because when you look at the record, it doesn't bear that out. Secondly, I think one of the defining differences in my race for U.S. Senate is that during the course of my service and during the course of this campaign, I've not been afraid to stand up to some pretty big and powerful interests. Starting, in my freshman term, remember when Wall Street came in 1999 and said we want to rewrite the rules, and I was one of a very small number of members of the House to vote against repeal of the Glass-Steagall rule. Glass-Steagall basically, came in after people had lost everything in the Great Depression and said the big banks can't gamble with people's life savings like hedge funds. They can't do that. And it was a firewall that was so important. And I really believe had we succeeded in keeping that safeguard in place, we would have seen, I don't think we would have seen no financial meltdown, but I think it would have been greatly diminished, and we wouldn't have seen $19 trillion of household wealth lost, according to the Treasury Department, in that course of time. When I was working on the health bill, I offered in committee the amendment that allows young people to stay on their parents' health insurance until they're 26 years old. That provision remained in the bill and was passed into law. 6.6 million young people in America today have health insurance because of my work. I travel to campuses across Wisconsin on the campaign trail, say, raise your hand if you're on your parents' insurance. 2/3, 3/4 of the hands in the room shoot up. I'm very proud of that. Do you think the big insurance companies wanted me to be successful on that? Absolutely not. I stand up to very powerful interests, and then in the heat of a campaign, they start the name calling. What I think you see is these labels being applied because I've taken on power on behalf of the people. And I will be unafraid to do that moving forward. And then
I don't doubt your toughness at all.
Yeah.
At all. I respect you for that, but your voting record is, and again, you represent a district that is, 101% progressive and 3 Republicans. So I can understand why you would be representing your constituency, but your voting record has nothing to do with your ability to stand up. You're tough. There's no doubt about that.
Let's look at that voting record. See, I think the words that are thrown out there have absolutely lost their meaning. Well, I'm going to review what I said before.
When it gets down to it, I go back to just like your record on the trade agreements are all very, very negative, liberal vote on those things. It's there. And you could come up with 6 reasons why, but when it gets down to it, you voted against trade agreements, which is...
I voted for the hardworking manufacturing individuals.
But it's a liberal position. It's also...
I don't think standing up for hardworking people against multinational corporations that want to write their own rules is a position as you characterize it. I think it is... And I think that's, I think the words have lost their meaning, and I do want to return to the fiscal responsibility part of that. Tommy Thompson supported 2 unfunded tax cuts heavily weighted to the wealthy. He supported 2 wars on the credit card, and he wrote the most fiscally irresponsible policy. And I voted against 4 out of 5 of them. And he has, you call him a conservative, and you called me. I am the one who has been the fiscally responsible.
I'm conservative.
Yeah.
I'm just going back to.
Well, I'm talking about answering the question about the words that are bandied around.
Maybe another way to frame it would be the name calling and nasty commercials aside. Would you personally embrace or reject the notion that you're one of the most liberal members of Congress?
The word that is resonant in Wisconsin is progressive, and I am a proud progressive. And that word has meaning, unlike the meaning that has been lost by these other labels. When you look at conservative versus liberal in terms of spending, I just noted it's flipped. I'm much more fiscally responsible, I think, than my opponent. But in terms of progressive, we know that in Wisconsin. Bob La Follette Sr. was a Republican who left his party because he believed that the powerful interests of that time had really taken over Washington and taken over Madison. Now, they're a different set of interests now, to a certain extent. Some of them are the same. But I feel like we're in similar times, and that the people need a louder voice.